So we ended with Elijah, and Elijah saw the rain coming, saw a little hand, and then he knew it was going to be a downpour coming. And so he runs back and beats Ahab back to the city. Well, what I didn't mention last time is a pretty significant thing is that Elijah also killed 450 prophets, after he called down fire from heaven and the sacrifice was consumed. And so there's been this confrontation. Elijah has really shown his authority. This is an incredible time in biblical history with the arrival of Elijah and then following Elisha, the prophets in the land. These were prophets really like none other than maybe Moses. You take Moses as a prophet and see the signs and wonders, the national things, the things that were seen by nations, before their eyes they could see God moving. So, God has revealed himself through his relationship with this people that we call the chosen people at times. Israel, he's showing he's revealing himself through his relationship with them. And this is an amazing time of just a different kind of display, an amazing display that comes through Elijah. Well, Elijah has this incredible victory, and then in chapter 19 of 1 Kings, Jezebel hears about it and is upset and threatens him. And it's amazing after this incredible victory that Elijah hears from Jezebel and is scared to death and runs and flees. It says in verse 2 of chapter 19, "Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah saying, 'So may the gods do to me and even more if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow at this time.'" So she's saying, if I don't kill you like you killed the prophets, the false prophets, by this time tomorrow, she's just making this vow that she's going to do it. "And he was afraid and arose and ran for his life and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, 'It is enough now, O Lord, take my life, for I am not better than my fathers.'" And I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but you ever have a really great high, an incredible victory, something really goes well, and then you just dive down into the bottoms. Well, apparently amazing prophets aren't exempt from this kind of reaction, especially when you're under threat by the king's wife that she's going to kill you. "And he lay down and slept under a juniper tree, and behold, there was an angel touching him. He said to him, 'Arise and eat.'" Wow. So we see here an angel of the Lord is there when Elijah falls asleep, actually touching him and gives him a little instruction. He hears right from heaven from this angel, and his instruction is, "Rise and eat." And then he looked, and behold, there was at his head a bread cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, "Arise, eat, because the journey is too great for you." So he arose and ate and drank and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God. So he eats this second time. He took a little nap again. He eats a second time, and he's going to go on the strength of this food for 40 days and 40 nights. And he's going to Horeb, the mountain of God. Now, Horeb is basically another name for Mount Sinai, where the 10 Commandments were given to Moses. And so Elijah goes to this place, and he arrives at Mount Horeb, and what he does there is he hides in a cave. Now it's interesting, I'm going to take a little aside here and talk a little bit about Mount Horeb, Sinai, that kind of thing. In Galatians, it says that Mount Sinai in Arabia. Now Arabia was a large area in that time, but Arabia did encompass basically the place that we call Saudi Arabia to this day. I really believe that the Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, is in present-day Saudi Arabia. Traditionally, for a number of years now, we've called Mount Sinai in the Sinai Peninsula, but there's not the characteristics there of the signs that there's been a large group of people there. There's not the split rock that's talked about in the Bible. There's not the cave in the mountain, and that's one of the things here is I believe in Saudi Arabia, there's an area which would be in the area where Moses had lived 40 years before God called him into ministry in Midian. There's an area there where there's a mountain that's called Jabal el-Lawz, even to this day, which means mountain of the law. The locals, the Bedouins, call it sometimes Jabal el Musa, mountain of Moses. And it's in the area of Midian where Moses went in exile for 40 years. And on top of that mountain, the mountain top is blackened. There's a rock there that's split. It said, God, when he gave a message, says, go to the rock at Horeb. That had to be a special rock. Well, this is a special rock. It's just this gigantic rock standing upright. And now it's split. And what you can see is water erosion coming right out of it down the side of the mountain. There's piles of rocks there, like altar settings. Some of them have little calves, sketched into them. And on that mountain, there's also a cave. And it says Elijah, when he went, he hid in this cave. And so what we see is, I really believe that, and you'd have to decide, this is an official stand of Little Chapel churches. This is Ed, okay? But I really believe that mountain in Saudi Arabia is the real Mount Sinai. There's a book of a guy that I know wrote, Joel Richardson, called Mount Sinai in Arabia, taken from the passage in Galatians. And he's actually gotten visas to take groups over there to climb this mountain legally. Other people have snuck in for years to climb it. And the Saudis know that it's special. They've had a fence around it and guards and stuff out in front of it. They know there's something special about this mountain that they're guarding in Saudi Arabia. And so just a little aside there, but I believe that's where that Elijah at this point, he journeys to Saudi Arabia. He traveled for 40 days and 40 nights, whatever, or he went on the food of that for that much. He traveled so 40 days to get to this place. And it would be quite a distance if he was walking. So he goes to this cave, he's hiding there, he's fled in fear because of Jezebel and declared, and he gets there and he says, to God, he wants to die, and he says, I alone am left. In verse 14 of chapter 19, it says, then he said, I have been very zealous for the Lord, because the Lord's asking, what are you doing here, Elijah? And he's in verse 13, he says, I have been very zealous for Yahweh, the God of hosts, the Lord. For the sons of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, torn down thine altars, and killed thy prophets with the sword, and I alone am left, and they seek my life to take it away. So he's really in pretty much of a depression here, and he's thinking he's the only guy left, the only one faithful to the Lord. And I just want to say here, when it says Lord in all capital letters in the Old Testament in these places, if it's all capital letters, that means it's the proper name of God that he gave to Moses, Yahweh or Jehovah. Let me take a little time to just explain that. When we translate from one language to another, we take a word and give the best meaning in the other language. When we transliterate, what we do is we take the letters of that language and we try and give them the comparable letters in English. So the reason that sometimes people say Yahweh and sometimes they say Jehovah, because they're trying to take the Hebrew letters, change them into English letters, and add vowels. Okay? That's pretty complicated. But there's YHWH is essentially the letters transliterated into English from Hebrew. So that would be YHWH, and we put an A in the beginning and an E in the last consonant and call it Yahweh. Or they take the Y and make it more into a J sound. They put a consonant J and put an O in the middle, O, and a V-A-H instead of a W-A-H at the end, Jehovah. So both of those are just transliterations of the Hebrew word Yahweh. So when we put Lord, that's just more of a translation of meaning he is the ruler, the authority, the God of all gods. And so when it's all in capital letters, Lord, it means it was translated from the YHWH. It's the name of God saying Yahweh or Jehovah. So I think we'll wrap this session up with that and pick up next time.